Hi BookTube. I'm here today to do my review of the next installment in the Betsy Tacy series, and this is Betsy and Joe by Maud Hart Lovelace. And this is like the much anticipated, finally like getting together of Betsy and Joe. That's he's been like a side, not a side, he's been like mentioned throughout her high school years, and you always know that you think they would do well together because he really likes reading, and he seems like a really nice guy, and he's always been her competition in the writing challenges. And so yeah, like to have like this title, Missing Joe, I thought it'd be really good, and I did like it, but I didn't love it. It didn't quite meet the expectations that I wanted it to. It starts off at the beginning with them two getting together, but unfortunately, Betsy's, I guess the tensions are a little bit diverted because Tony Markham, he has been like, he was her love interest. I think it was like her freshman year of high school, and so he's always been a really good friend. He really likes being a part of her family. And he comes over and he visits with her dad and her sisters, he's her younger sister's favorite guy of hers. So anyway, so she wants to help him out as much as he can because she knows he's struggling with, he's really been getting together with like an older crowd and hopping a train and going up to Minneapolis, and so she doesn't want him to fall into the wrong crowd of people, and so she kind of wants to take him under her wing, but she doesn't really communicate this with Joe. Joe wants her for himself. He doesn't want to have to share her with another boy, and so the rift kind of starts with them going to dances, and how Joe's like, I want to book her dances throughout the year. Just assume we're together, even if, because he is busy working and with school and stuff, and so he can't always run up to her, when the dances are announced, to be able to get her as his partner for the dances. So because Tony has asked her a couple times, so she feels really conflicted because she wants to go with Joe, but she wants to be a friend to Tony. And so the whole book is really her lack of communication with expressing her to Tony, telling him, this is just a friendship, this isn't a romantic relationship. And for Joe, really explaining her reasons why she's deciding to go with Tony, even though she really wants to go with Joe. She even tells him, I really rather go with you, but she doesn't express what her reasons are. And so Tony develops because before he considered her as a friend, but he's starting to develop romantic feelings for her. And she does not return those, and so she really does a disservice to him by not communicating. And for Joe, she loses this relationship at the beginning of the book. She loses that and doesn't get it until the end because of lack of communication. That's always really irksome in books. It's something so easy to fix, but again, it's part of life. We don't always communicate for different reasons. Either we're embarrassed, or for we're avoiding conflict, something like that. And so yeah, and then the other part I didn't really enjoy was the football plot line. I am not a football fan at all. I do not think football should be associated with schools. I think it should be part of gyms, or a sports league outside of schools, because I think it's very damaging to your health. But anyway, putting that aside, the story of Tibbs' relationship with now I'm forgetting his name. I'm horrible with names, but Maddox or Max or something with M. Anyway, that main character, he comes over to the Deep Valley High School, and he did really good in his last high school. And so they're, we're gonna win this year. We're finally gonna, beat the other teams. But unfortunately, they don't, because he is really adverse to physical contact and being tackled. He takes the balls and runs off of the sidelines where you can't be hurt. And so Tib is threatening, I'm gonna break up with you and leave you if you don't physically get involved with the tackling and whatnot. And so that was another story that I was just not keen on. But again, you just have to, it's like part of being in high school, rooting for your home team, which I do understand. But yeah, I think people should be understanding of sport. But again, he knew what he was going into when he got into this sport, and just thinking like you're talking about these like leather helmets they're wearing, and like nowadays we have like like plastic, but like there's like more protective gear, with the face and all, the face grill thing. I don't know about sports. I don't know what the thing's called, but what I'm talking about. They have a football helmet, whereas back then they had like leather helmets. So like the brain damage and all of that, like the concussions and all that. It was just like, it sounds awful. So he didn't have any protecting his face, so he talks about in the story how his lips are getting bloody, and he's gonna break that nice Roman nose he has, and so all that really harsh contact was just a little bit hard for me to read, honestly. I was like, just imagining all like that just like smushing together of all like these like heavy bodies running at each other was a bit much. But anyway, I like how the story ended with finally Joe and Betsy get back together, and you look forward to their future. And I really liked at the end where Julia comes back, because she has been in Berlin studying to be an opera singer, and so she finally makes her way back to visit. And I really like that rekindling of all of their relationships, because part of the story is, besides like her romantic relationships with all these different boys, what I like most about this series is the relationship Betsy has with Tacy and Tib, and in particular also the relationship she has with her family. Her sibling relationship is just so nice, and especially with the two older, Julia and Betsy. I think they have a lot more a closer bond than she has with her younger sister, which is like, I think it's like a 6 or 7 year age gap. And so it's nice to finally have them back. And I know, like, in real life, she did go in a tour in Berlin and stay, I think it was like 6 months. And in the back of the book, they talked about, what was happening in her real life, and how she was, Julia was offered to stay in Europe, but she declined it and to come back to America. And I'm sure, part of that's because, she doesn't want to be so far from her family, and there's chances in America as well to become a singer, especially through New York. And also, like, in the back reading about what was really happening, it was interesting that we talked about how the writing competition that's hosted every single year, and how she was in these books she's been competing with Joe, and of course Joe in her real life, she didn't meet him until she was in college. And so she was competing with mostly other females, and how she lost her junior and senior year. But in this book, she finally wins it. Of course, like, it'd be nice if if you're writing a fictitious story of your formative years, and so if you could rewrite all the things like you did wrong or you lost competition, it'd be really nice to rewrite them. Like, oh yeah, I did win that. So I thought that was I was like, I don't know, like nice to see. But even though she lied and said she won this year, she was like true, talking about how she lost in the previous year. So anyway, I'm looking forward to the next one in the series. It's Betsy in the Great World, I think is the title. And so she's finally getting out of high school. What's next? Like the graduation ends, and we'll see what's up for Betsy in the future. Let me know what you think of this series, and if you liked or disliked the books. Let me know. Thanks. I'll see you soon, book 2.